hear you're ready for your dose of reality.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Dr. Quack Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Quack.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem. And today, 8th series of our Dear Independent Wrestling. This is probably one of the most important ones because this is the one that seems to have been forgotten the most. This is the one that gets the crowd the most and seems to have been forgotten. We're talking Selling 101.
That's right. Everybody keeps asking how many of these are we going to put out. There's going to be a lot of them, and this is another installment here. Selling 101. Tell me, what are some of the basics of selling?
All right, well, first of all, we're going to define the word selling under the wrestling terminology. Selling doesn't mean just laying there pretending you're hurt. Selling is every single thing you do trying to tell your story to the crowd. Whether you sell it in your face by looking scared, looking mean, or being happy. Those are all selling points to the crowd. Those are things that you do besides showing your hurt. Yes, okay, my arm hurts. I'm selling my arm here. But you got to learn everything you do is about selling your story or your gimmick to the crowd, as we discussed in 7 about how you build your gimmick. Now we're going to show you how to build it. So some of the basics. Remember, everything you do, the crowd is watching in your character.
That's right. I mean, you got to know emotion is a big factor in this. You got to figure there's fans that are sitting in the back, especially if you got a packed house, and you've got, people who can barely hear the what's going on in the ring and barely see. So they're going to need to be able to hear the emotion. They're going to be able to hear the pain, hear the anger, hear the frustration. They need to be able to hear it as well as see it.
That's right. So when we're talking about that again, that includes your time on the microphone. As you said, your voice is part of the sell, but you also should be able to feel it and hear it through what you show here or what you show in the ring. We're going back again when they used to have 13, 14, 15,000 people every week. It's because they cared about the story, because they sold the story very well.
Yes. You got to be able to focus on that. Another big thing that I've noticed that rookies do a lot, when you're selling, this should not be happening. You should not be smiling.
Yes, if you have to, breathing is a great way to get rid of that. If you feel the need to smile like this, solves the problem, because the smile is part of the big breathe in, breathe out process. It's a great way until you get control of that to avoid that. So remember that. Plus it also helps you when you're bumping, that if you blow out, you don't want to be smiling because you might hurt yourself. You blow out, you don't hurt yourself, and then the story doesn't get lost.
Yeah, a big thing too. If you're going to smile, it's okay if you want to show that sinister smile if you're going for that crazy gimmick. It does work, but make it work with the gimmick. Because if you don't, you're just going to look like somebody who's out there taking punches and it's not doing anything.
Yes, and now we're going to move on to the selling part that happens in the match. This has been lost, and I'm going to lay a lot of the blame right now at Dave Meltzer and the independent wrestling community that wants to see stunt shows. Wrestling is not a stunt show. Wrestling is wrestling. A stunt show is a stunt show. They are not the same thing, although they have similar elements. Go ahead.
There are certain things that get on my nerves. Hands across America! Yes, this there, right there, that gets on my nerves. I'm going to tell you why. If you're just sitting there waiting for somebody to jump at you, doing a dive, it looks horrible. It doesn't work well. You're not selling it right.
Right.
I mean, you want to sell there. You want to hold your head. You don't want to be holding the other guy and just waiting there for 30 seconds while somebody decides if they're going to jump off the corner or they're going to jump over the top rope.
Yep. You can sell and look out of the corner of your eye. I can still see the camera, and here I am looking at Dr. Quack. So if I know somebody's getting ready to come, I can be like this, and then we turn at the right time because we see the motion coming at us. Standing here like this, and then maybe moving for a second like we're waiting for it, is not selling. That's being obvious.
Right. I mean, you almost have to play that drunken stupor there when you're hurt and you're trying to play hurt. Like you're walking around dazed and you're walking around dizzy because you're fatigued. You know, you have to show that. That is a big factor.
Yes, we're going to talk about two things now that annoy me and have really hurt the wrestling business as far as the believability and turning it into a stunt show. One of them is called 0 to 60. And what I mean by 0 to 60 is you're laying there on the mat and all of a sudden you jump up and you run for like 4 minutes in a row like you hadn't been hurt at all. You didn't build up. You know, you don't stomp on the gas when you come off the red light every single time. Usually you want to slowly build yourself up. And that's what the problem is. Everybody lays there for 20 or 30 seconds and then they get up and they do this long, convoluted 10, 12, 15 move spot and throw each other, power bomb each other over the top rope, and all of a sudden they're both laying there like they spent all their energy. You don't have to do that. It works every once in a while, especially in title matches. It looks like you've got a little extra oomph to give you a little extra second win, but you shouldn't have a second win and a third win and a fourth win and a fifth win and a sixth win in a 15-minute match.
No, you really shouldn't. I mean, there's just so much about selling. You know, here's the believability fact. We talk about selling and believability. Okay, people believe more in Brock Lesnar than they do in other fighters because Brock Lesnar was a UFC fighter. You know, they believe whenever he was booked, oh my God, he's going to kill somebody. He's going to hurt somebody. He's going to take them to Suplex City. He's going to demolish them. There's other wrestlers out there, I'm not mentioning names, but there's names out there that just don't have that believability.
That's true. There's a lot of them. And that ties into this second thing about the lack of believability, the mysterious forgotten injury. When you start out the beginning of a match, and we're going to use Ric Flair as an example. Everybody knows Ric Flair is focused on the legs for the figure 4 leg lock. If you were to have worked Ric Flair and he worked your leg for 10, 15, 16 minutes, and you walked around like you weren't hurt at all, you just killed every single thing Ric Flair tried to do. Or if for, give me a good name of somebody else who worked a body part. Anderson. Let's go with the Andersons.
Yeah.
If the Andersons, they were known for working the arms, the Anders Slam, and all that stuff. And if you were to get up and like nothing ever happened, being able to throw people around with your left arm and pushing them off because that's the arm they worked, you just killed all their credibility. If somebody works a body part, sell it the whole match. You know, there's nothing wrong. Okay, they work your right arm. They work your right arm. You throw a punch and then you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. It sells the other person's credibility, and they might give you some credibility in return.
Exactly right. I mean, the big thing here is believability, and that's something that needs to be done throughout this business. You know, we don't need spot fest. We don't need people doing spot. I blow a spot and then I forget how to work. That is a big problem that all lies in this. It just makes your whole match look like it was worth nothing.
Yes, and the last thing is the ending sell that I want to go over. There are a lot of people, for whatever reason, we're not going to pull him out because we're going to save him for later. But there are a lot of people who, when the match is over, they just walk back to the back, into the back. You know, Bobby Lashley just gave them a super spear. They sold their gut for about 8 seconds laying there. Then they roll out like nothing happened and they walk themselves back to the back. Sell it. Every single person that can see you, you should be selling until no one can see you that's in front of the curtain. That includes the referees. You know, if the referee's right behind you, Sell until the referee comes back because someone might be looking back through the curtain. Sell it away. Get away from the main entrance. You know, sell that injury. Make your people look good. People might start caring, especially for you baby faces. Baby faces have to be better sellers than anybody else because the crowd won't care about you if you look like Superman.
That's right. Overselling is a good thing in comparison to underselling. I would rather you oversell it and make it look like I killed you versus taking a Vader bomb and then getting up. Hi, Hulk Hogan. Yeah, we'll never forget that. You know, that's just a big thing here. I'd rather you be carried out by the referee. I'd rather you say you broke your neck and they bring out the stretcher, you know, than see you undersell it. Overselling, yes, is not good either, but it's better than underselling.
Yes, when this is a part where we talked about before, taking some acting classes, taking some theater classes, understanding what's too much and what's not enough. If you were to take a body slam and you roll around on the ring for 45 seconds, I'm going to come over and kick you in the stomach for real. Because you're overselling it, you're making it look bad. You're making it look fake. But if you take a body slam, and then you go over to the ring and kind of stand up for a second and stretch it, that's good.
How did you sell that? How did you sell Right, notice folks. The right body part. If I gave you a body slam, I wouldn't expect you to be selling the arm. Always know what you're supposed to sell. You know, this should be something that should be second nature to most, you know, seasoned vets in there.
Yeah, Michael Cole and Corey Graves have had to become cover artists because this is something we're going to go into futures about perfecting your move sets and doing moves you can and can't do well. When somebody gets drop kicked in the elbow, don't sell your elbow, sell your chest, because that's supposed to be where the drop kick landed, unless they specifically drop kicked your arm, like they held it up like this and then drop kicked the arm. That's one thing. But if they drop kick you in the hip, sell your chest. I know the crowd will notice it, but the crowd will get over it if you keep moving forward. Corey Graves and Michael Cole have had to become cover artists because people sell the part they actually get hit and it looks bad. It makes your opponent doing that move sloppily look even worse.
That's right, folks. Well, that's about all we got here for Selling 101.
I think so. The biggest thing I want to reiterate how important selling is. Selling is 85% of the wrestling in front of the camera. Whether you're talking on the microphone, you're in the ring bumping, you're in the ring taking some abuse, or you're shaking hands with the fans. 85% of wrestling is selling. So please, practice your selling. Practice it in front of a mirror. Have somebody, you know, pretend to hit you and sell it and watch it. Or these cameras are not very expensive. Buy a video camera. Sell some moves in front of a camera and look at it and watch it and review it. You're going to learn from watching. Please, wrestlers, managers, ring announcers, referees, promoters, bookers, please be watching this series. All we want is wrestling to get better. And you guys got to help us.
That's right, folks. Well, that's the end of our episode here, Selling 101. What's coming up next?
Next, we're going to talk about putting together move sets and building your selling and your move sets with your gimmick and presenting that in a meaningful way to tell the story from beginning to end.
And also, you will soon see our world premiere of the 10 layers of wrestling hell. Get ready for those videos, folks. I'm your host, Dr. Quack.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem, saying thanks for following along. If you've got an idea for a Dear Independent Wrestling of a topic we need to cover, or if you've learned something from us and you want to pass that story along, get a hold of us on the Dr. Quack podcast. We may bring you on Facebook Live and talk about what you learned and let somebody else learn from your story.
That's right. Get ready for our interviews coming out this week. There are probably 2 coming out as this comes out, and the 3rd one will be coming out on Saturday. And I'm out.